It translated into a matrix language. We usually use a high resource language, for example, like English or Spanish, to provide a common frame of the reference for all the annotations. And the third step is to do a morpheme segmentation. I will explain in the later part, the next slide. And another one is a grammatic annotation. We call it gloss. I will also explain that in the next slides. So the first one is it's called morpheme segmentation. So it is usually to like annotate those words into the smallest meaningful unit in a language. For example, you can see there's an example like unhappy. So you can break down it into is a like negation prefix, and happy and ness, a noun marker. And those like we call it morphemes because morpheme can't be further divided without like losing meaning. Another next step is called glossing. So a gloss is a like short label that explain the meaning or grammatical functions of the morpheme. For example, the like in the previous example, for example, the noun maker is called the gloss. And glosses make it possible for linguists to interpret structures, even if they don't speak the language. Here's a like full example of this IGT. We call it interlinear gloss text example. So it's called IGT example. So you can see how people do the transcription. They write down in the text, and then they do the segmentation, and then do the gloss and the translation. And let's get back to our paper. So for the motivation is that researchers have been interested in what large language models can do, but their potential in linguistics, especially for low resource languages, hasn't been explored very much. So to find out how well those models can actually understand such languages, we turn to reference grammar. So unlike the huge unstructured corpora data that the LMs are usually trained on, descriptive grammar usually provides a systematic and interpretable account of the language morphology and syntax. So another advantage is that reference grammar reflect the approach taken by human linguists who because they do the analysis when they face a like unfamiliar language. They start how the like book, the reference book usually reflects how they starting those like language by starting the like structured descriptions. And a typical reference grammar has two main parts. As you can see in this example, the first part explain the grammar rules. There's a like explanation of this section, and the second part includes a interlinear gloss text, a format that the linguists use to annotate examples sentences, as I mentioned just now. And IGT usually, yeah, you can see it contains 4 lines. And here's a like reason why we choose reference grammar as our data set. For example, in this IGT data, the text in red highlights the emphasized word discussing the grammar explanation, right? And two questions we want to ask in this paper are first question is how well LMs can understand low resource languages when provided with structured linguistic input. And another question is, can LMs make such inferences systematically rather than through memorization? So to answer this question, definitely you can imagine that you just directly test it is kind of impossible and it's very hard because like if you just test, okay, how well you know this language, the like model output kind of like give you very like various output is very hard to measure. So based on this difficulty, we design a task-oriented approach. So for each target sentence, the LM received the utterance or the utterance paired with its clause and also like augmented by the targeted grammatical rules. And we evaluate the model's comprehension through a control task. We call it word gloss inference. So where the like model answer a multiple choice question to infer a missing word or its corresponding gloss based on the linguistic context. And we construct our benchmarks through a collection of low-resource languages documented in the like public available reference grammars. They are published by Language Science Express, and because they are like comprehensive, systematic descriptions of each individual languages, and often based on fieldwork and long-term collaboration with native speakers, and they usually cover linguistic subfields like phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. In total, we cleaned 18 books and we parse LaTeX source data, and then we extract the IGT examples and the explanation paragraph from the dataset from each book. And we also guarantee that the alignment between morphemes and glosses. We just make sure that each gloss will correspond to each morpheme will have a corresponding gloss in the example. And here is a overview, here's the overview of our LingGym dataset. So it contains over 19,000 IGT examples, and the languages span 8 language families because those books are called reference grammar books. So it will heavily focus on grammar. So it will have a strong focus on syntax. To create the set of full answer choices. So one correct answer, and we usually have like 3 distractors. We employ 3 strategies to generate those like distractors. So the first one is we call it a form-based distractor. We find a distractor clause that shares the longest common substring with the correct clause, but differs in grammatical function. For example, you can see in this example, the correct one have a shared part GAD, and in our form-based distractor, it also have this stem. And sorry. And the second one, the second distractor is a semantic-based distractor. So we compute the semantic similarity between glosses by embedding them using the sentence BERT. You can see that they have some like similar meanings in the stem. And the third one, we call it the chapter local distractor. So to promote that lexicon and structural diversity, we randomly sample a word gloss pair from the same grammar chapter, because we believe that in the same chapter or subsection, they will share some like share some similarity or some like shared information. Yeah, it's hard to like differential. That is our goal, to make those like distractors, and we ensure that all distractor candidates don't overlap with each other. And to prevent positional bias in those candidates' answers, we shuffle the choice and ensure that each position from A to D contains the correct answer approximately 25% of the time. And to evaluate the impact of like different types of linguistics information, we design our prompts to include the like following types of knowledge. First, we start with the original sentence. We call it, we shortened call it S, and the morpheme segmented sentence in the target language. And another one, the second one is the gloss information. We call it G. it stands for the glosses for the given words, so that the model can understand what the what the meaning of each morpheme and word. And the third level is called knowledge points. It's the relevant knowledge points in the grammar book we have extracted. And the last one is English translation. We can so yeah, the model can understand the full meaning of this sentence. And then we conduct our main experiment with four difficulty levels based on data availability. So depends on which data we feed into the model. And all prompts follow the template displayed in the slides, as you can see in this in this slide. And then we evaluate a diverse set of LMs covering from a range of sizes and model families. And models are shown here. Yeah, some of the models may hurt a little bit out of date nowadays. Yeah, because this is a paper conducted a year ago. And we use accuracy to calculate the model performance. And here are our results. So the meta-linguistic reasoning benchmark is challenging to LMs despite the data contamination issue, because some of the models will have already digest all those books, public available books through the pre-training period. But we still say it is a challenging experiment, because that if the model just take a random guess, then the accuracy will be 25%. But for our hardest setting, which we only provided the source sentence, the accuracy is a little bit above 25%. It's around 30 something. So we still see it is a challenging experiment. And we also see that the structural linguistic input, for example, we feed in the gloss and rules, and those translation will improve the reasoning process for the model. You can see there's the model performance improvement as shown in those different settings. And to further validate the effect, we conduct a controlled experiment on selected models by testing LMs across all difficulty conditions. So our ablation study indicate that the gloss information, English translation, and knowledge points each will contribute to a meta-linguistic reasoning. Yeah, you can see that every part or every element of them can contribute a degree of the improvement and the independence of each other. And knowledge points consistently boost performance meaning, because that the LMs can interpret linguistic rules. And also translation can further aid the inference by anchoring the semantic information for the model. And we also do check whether using chain of thought can improve the performance. So chain of thought, if you don't have a background of what chain of thought is, it usually let the model to do a reasoning step by step, instead of give out a result immediately. Yeah, for example, here's a counting example of the apple counting example as shown below. And however, in our results, we find that chain of thought doesn't bring a clear improvements to the performance in our experiment. And finally, here are some results among languages and linguistic subfield, because we studied different languages, 18 languages, and also because in each language book, they contain different subfields of the linguistics. So we can do these subfields easily. And we can see that LM's performance is relatively similar across like different languages and also language families and linguistic subfield. Here's a like graph of the different linguistic subfield and the model performance. And here is the performance across different languages and also language families. So lastly, I want to mention that some limitations of our current work. So our data set is imbalanced, as I said, because it's like extracted from grammar books. So it will have a like natural scheme to the like reference grammar, and which are heavily devoted towards the like syntax field. And we plan to extend our work to more languages, and also the theoretical frameworks and also like the open-ended question in the future because nowadays we just want to make sure this like experiment can be controllable. So that is why we choose the multiple choice question. But in practice, um, when you ask something, the model can generate a free text. So our goal is to do more experiment towards the like open-ended question in the future. And thanks for your listening. That's all for the presentation, and feel free to ask any questions if you are interested in our work. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Changbing, for your presentation. Now I think we have time for Q&A sessions. I think Professor Annie texted something out in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
like one question, how far has reasoning come with the newest model that are out?
Yeah, actually, I did a some like test. I mean, based on the recent model. I mean, during the like period when our paper has been published, it seems that the model didn't like know a lot about low resource language, and they don't have a good memory of the those books they have already read. But nowadays, the model becomes stronger, and when I test the same question, I feel their performance is get much better, and they can even like recognize which book which like language you are talking about and what knowledge exists in some certain book. So yeah, I think there are definitely some like other ways to test the reasoning capability. I mean, use another like approach to test the reasoning capability. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Also, I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh yeah. So one is how, like you mentioned that you tested 18 low resource languages
Yeah.
and from the book, from the grammar book, and
Mm-hmm.
how did you how were those lang low resource languages defined and chosen? Like what's the why you're choosing those languages?
So we basically just let me go back to the slide. So we so we just So we the like res so the different languages we choose is based on the availability from the language science express. I mean the grammar book available there. So we almost extract all the like books there. Yeah. So despite some of the books that are not available to download or they have issues of like public use or yeah, despite those information those like elements, but we use almost all the books available in the express. Yeah.
So, because they are published, so like know, like if you mentioned the like large language model use a lot of public available database. Like
Hmm.
I believe those are involved in the training. So, do you
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like a
yeah,
contamination in the data set when you
yeah,
are
yeah,
doing
yeah.
this kind of thing?
Yeah, so that is the first result I mentioned just now. There's some data, we admit there's some data contamination issue. Yeah, as I said, if it's like guessing like chance. So the accuracy will be 25%, right? Because we have ch four choices. But even in our like very basic hardest difficulty level, we only put like the source sentence. We only provided with the source sentence. The like accuracy is a little bit above 25%, is 33 something. Yeah, some 30 something. So there's some data contamination issue, but we still say it is a challenging problem. Yeah, because it doesn't show a very I mean high performance rate.
Okay, and then my next question is, you show that the performance across different tasks like phonology, morphological
Mm-hmm.
like features, like questions, they like the performance are relatively similar. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is a little bit counterintuitive to me because as you said, like the grammar book involved the most of the content, like the syntax like problems, right? So and like we know that usually when data is low, like when we have less data about morphology and the phonology um like data, then the model will probably won't behave that as good as syntax. This is quite surprising to me that the model performed relatively good. Like although not relatively good, but almost at the same level with the most of
Yeah,
the
that that
that
is a
what
good
you
yeah, that is a good question. And actually, we just like separate those like subfields according to each chapter's name. So for example, like a noun, and also like for example, in this next section, maybe it's called like um verb phrase, something like that, right? Actually, those information, some of those information, for example, morphology and pragmatics or semantics, sometimes they are mixed in some chapter. So yeah, based on our knowledge, it's very hard to like differentiate which type of question belongs to a certain subfield. So we just can do a roughly like subletion of those subfields. Yeah, but yeah, your question is a good. Yeah, it's definitely sounds very interesting. Like a like maybe a future yeah experiment to take. We need to like consider about the number of those the like question number amount, right? Definitely a element. And another one is that how can we like distinguish different subfields? Yeah, that's another question we will consider.
Yeah, that's like because I'm also doing like a
Mm-hmm.
multilingual language fe like
Yeah.
typological feature um s prediction or imputation.
Mm-hmm.
So like what we observe is like the model when we have we also have a really imbalanced data set
Mm-hmm.
where we have more syntax features and inventory
Mm-hmm.
features, whereas less morphological and the
Mm-hmm.
phonological
Yeah.
features. And the model is suffering from like a really severe
Mm-hmm.
absence of morphological and the phonology features. And then we
Yeah.
observe that like model performance just drop for those two. So I think yeah, it is quite
Yeah.
counterintuitive for me, like to have this kind of
Yeah.
things. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And Sean, yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for the talk. I really enjoyed it. So like currently the evaluation method is like via the multiple choice questions, right?
Yeah.
And you said that like there's some room for like evaluating on like the more open-ended tasks.
Yes.
So I was like kind of curious, like how would you go about doing the open-ended evaluation?
Mm. Actually, I think I have did several like explorations first. So I think there can be several tasks to do. For example, like um, translation can be another task to do, right? If you feed in the model with some like linguistics knowledge and you just train the model to be a linguist, yeah, to be a linguist, then you can feed in a like for example, like a source sentence into the model and ask it what does it mean in English. Then the model can generate some like English translation. They can be a open-ended question. They can do a like they can generate a like free sentence, and then you can do a translation comparison based on like the gold translation task. That could be another like option. Yeah. But
Okay.
like due to time limit, I didn't like complete all the like experiment that
Yeah.
yeah at that time. But I think that could be an other like approach you can think about. And also you can think about some like um maybe um, um sorry, I had some thought. Let me think about that. Um
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Um Oh, another one I can think about is that you can do a like sentence formation experiment. For example, as you have maybe you have like experience learning some like language from Duolingo, right? They have some like words already like split in a random like order, shuffled order, but you can um let the model to like generate a correct sentence for you. And also another one is that maybe you just ask a model to reason to do the reasoning. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
also think about that whether the reasoning process is good or not. Yeah, but it's a little bit hard to do because you usually need some like human supervision. But I think there are some like yeah there's still a lot of like ways or approaches you can explore further.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Is it okay if I ask a follow-up question?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, so you said like one way to evaluate can be like the translation, or
Hmm.
another way is like given the words, rearrange them
Mm,
into a like
yeah,
correct sequence, which makes sense, right?
yeah.
But so like maybe it's like the current model is like I don't know, like Kimmy recently came out, like Soul recently came out. Maybe like they can already do that. But you said like with reasoning, right? Because I guess if you check the reason, if the reasoning is like if the reasoning is good, right?
Mm,
Then you can like know for sure that it got it right because it like understood the linguistics, right?
mm, mm.
Um, so how do you like go about um like do you just like track the thinking process in like reasoning tags or how or like how do you go about to like incentivize a certain direction of reasoning?
So I think some like approach can do more, maybe people do like reinforcement learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for example, you just get the like correct answer and for the I mean get what is called it's called like the great human no. I mean it's like you get the like correct answer and then you will reward if the like correct answer is like a reach, right? You do this type of like training. Yeah, so that you yeah, but I think definitely you need some like very good quality of like reasoning
Yeah. You need
yeah
the reasoning
data. Yeah,
trace.
this
Yeah, so
yeah. Yeah.
okay. All right, that makes sense. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Does anyone else have any questions? Yeah, if not, we just yeah. Yeah. And does anyone else have any questions? If not, yeah. Thank you, Changbing, so much for your
Thank
talk
you.
today. And it's really insightful. And yeah,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for yeah, all the questions and your thought about like how to like expand or yeah, towards this like reasoning question. Yeah. I think that is a very popular question. People yeah, usually explore a lot I mean during nowadays and definitely there are many like interesting questions still waiting for us to explore more.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for joining.
Mhm.
Have a nice day.